Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to join Mishu, who's come all the way from Chicago to be with us with his film, Apolitical. Let's take a look at the clip.
Pro tip, my little secret, I don't follow the news.
What do you mean?
Like 4 or 5 years ago, I just decided to stop reading the news.
Wait, so like no news at all?
You should see the amount of apps and blockers Morgan has to prevent any ounce of outside information entering his sphere.
Yes.
That actually sounds kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean, no news ever.
So just ignoring the world.
What can I say? I'm apolitical.
Wow. So basically you just don't give a shit.
Alex, don't start that.
Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family, and thank you for bringing this film, but thank you for making this story. I'm so glad that someone made this story. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah. Apolitical basically follows 4 people. It's a dinner party, a celebratory dinner party where the guests find out the host doesn't read the news, and it's unravels from there.
You know, it's so funny because I think just given where we've been in this country as well, those conversations that have just somehow we started well, you're at a table, and then something has triggered to untangle this, and you don't know if you're ever going to find a way back after that. I thought that articulation around this table was like so good, and I also thought, my goodness, many people are going to be able to relate to this experience. What was it for you personally that gave you the inspiration to decide to turn this idea into a film?
I think personally, the inspiration came from just watching the news and being in a relation with different friends, different groups, or even going home for Thanksgiving with family and navigating the discomfort of, do I bring certain subjects up? And what would that look like at a more tight spectrum? It's easy, I think, to imagine, you know, a hard left and a hard right argument. But what happens when it's someone who's close to you, someone you're going to collaborate with, and someone who's probably has similar values, but it's a different shade of those values, and wanting to write what would the theoretical argument be? It's just the argument I have in my brain almost every night.
Yeah.
But what would it be like practically if you're, you know, starting a new relationship with friends or collaborators, and you find out something that just like triggers an impulse to go, wait a minute, I didn't realize you were this kind of person.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you made it, because the argument you had in your brain, I've been having in my brain. So I was just glad that you made this film, because I think a lot of people can relate to this experience as well, especially the holidays, you know, used to be quite a fun pleasure. Now it's become like, oh goodness, here we go, you know, and that's, you know, that's kind of the state of where we're at. Now, these 4 characters you brought to life, I love them. I wasn't kind of done with them. I was like, no, what, can we have dessert or something? Like, what's going on? But how did you go about wanting to develop these characters? Because I also just love their stances, the kind of the dialogue that you brought to life with these characters. How was that process for you in developing that?
Yeah, in terms of developing, it was just, I like to write on a legal pad and brainstorming. If I have these polarities of someone who's maybe like a YouTube influencer style character, and then to go close, like what would this person's partner be like? And then on the other side, if you are a very progressive minded person, what would your partner be like, your spouse or whatever? So it was doing the math of how can I create these quadrants of the status, right? The person who plays Casey, Catherine Bellantone, to me, she's just sort of, oh, I'm in this room with these people, I'm dating this guy, and I'm kind of over it because maybe she's she's a trust fund kid and has all this wealth. So really thinking about what are the sort of the status indicators, the philosophies, and maybe even the background. And then casting helped. Once we got into casting, it helped even narrow it, and rewriting to fit the conversations I had with all the actors.
And they played so well off each other, like, you know, from standing back as a producer, it's like, wow, these are brilliant actors, you know, the way they did it. What's your process as a director working with your actors? Yeah,
I think for me, it'd be a pretty lazy process in that it's like 90% casting. We had like 1,200 people send, headshots, resumes. Of the 1,200, looked at about 100 or 120 self-tape monologues. And of the 120, there were maybe 8 people that could have been on the short list. But once I found one or two people that I'm like, I would love to work with these folks, and their calendar clear to help commit. Okay, if we're casting this person, then maybe we want to find someone with a contrasting point of view or energy. So I just trusted the casting process of, I think these 4 people have very strong perspectives and points of view when it came to their audition, that I think it's a lazy answer, but my directing is essentially like, bring your chin down and do it a little bit faster. And that's just like a little quicker.
Yeah, I love that. How is it? I mean, you know, with them as well. You know, again, it's always interesting when you've got like, you know, obviously two people that know each other, but then you're bringing these like new friends together. How was their process in working together? Like, you know, how was that kind of dynamic in like rehearsal and things like that?
Yeah, we had 2 very brief rehearsals. I think 2 hours, 2-hour rehearsals, which is already pretty generous.
Yeah.
And that saved a lot of time versus being on set, because we were able to be in a rehearsal room and answer questions. So they're not on set asking like, why am I saying it this way? Why would I say this?
Yeah.
So 2 of the actors, Will Wilhelm and Bradley Halverson, they know each other through the Chicago theater scene. Ben Matthew, I think this was his first short film. Bradley, it was their first short film.
Really?
So yeah, it was just creating, for me, my job in the rehearsal space or any space is to create a comfortable environment where people can fail and there being no judgment. So during the rehearsal, beyond the intellectual side of leaving room for asking questions, there was also just the play side of, what can I do to indicate or make this space like judgment free? And usually it's like a lot of improv games and letting people access that childlike play, because I think, you know, at rehearsal, you'll probably make more 90%, 95% more risky decisions. Then when you're in a higher stress situation, you might unwittingly drop down to 85% or 79%.
Oh, that's so. Honestly, it makes such a difference when you give them the freedom, because then look what you get. That's what you get, right? Now, your whole film is set in one space. Tell me the trials and tribulations of that. What do you have to do? Any advice? Like, what was that experience like, filming the whole thing in one space?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like being an anchor for the audience. And usually I try not to concern myself with like boredom. But in this instance, it's to be generous with the audience and go, how can I create that engagement that feels like you're sitting at the table? And through that, it's you know, shot listing a variety of like, how can I shot list as many dynamic shots that aren't particularly crafty, that aren't so unnecessarily sexy, but there's enough variety of, all right, we're going to use like a 15mm, a warped lens to make it feel like the sense of when you get a little bit intoxicated and you're sort of like having a hard time paying attention, and use that as we sort of progress into a moment of things descending. But really it was, you know, we probably had 6 to 8 setups and 40 to 50 shots.
I mean, I really did feel like I was sitting at that table. And at first I loved it, and then I felt really awkward, and I'm already awkward enough because I'm British and we're very awkward people. But like, I literally felt like I was there sitting at the table. It was really well, I loved the way it was shot as well. Like, it was very intimate, and then you like being at the table, and then you're like, how do I get out of this situation, you know? Firstly, you know, again, thank you so much for being here, present with us. We're so happy that you flew out to us as well. It's really grateful. What's the experience been like on the festival run for you?
Oh, it's been lovely. Yeah, I think festival runs are an interesting mix of sensations, right? There's the hope and the optimism of potentially being selected, and then there's this sudden insecurity, self-loathing, resentment of getting those overly crafted, sensitive, and touchy emails. You know, you're so courageous. Unfortunately, you can't. You know, we don't ever program you. So the festival run's been exciting for the opportunity to meet fellow filmmakers, artists, and people in the audience who just like love it. I think the big thing for me is like letting go of the procedure and saying, okay, everything's contextual. Whether it gets in or doesn't get in, that's just this year. So to not derive value from acceptance or non-selection is an important thing. But either way, when I'm here, it's nice to meet someone like you and the folks in this room. It's absolute delight.
Oh, I mean, it's ironic. I don't know if it was exactly planned, but the fact that you you made a film Apolitical, and the film was screened on January the 18th at a change of presidency here, which is kind of insane. I love how that all worked out. I don't know if that was planned by New Filmmakers, but it was very interesting. I was like, you couldn't get more of a day to do it. But the interesting thing is that I was, we alluded to this last night, and I'm sure there's a lot of things in self-reflection of what you kind of wanted, but what did you actually want your audience to sort of experience from your film? Because I really feel like there's just, healing, learning, education, there's so many things in there. And not to mention, it was just great to see characters up there that I haven't seen before in front of camera. And I felt really, really special to see these particular characters be played out as well in this particular topic. But what did you want from your audience?
Yeah, what did I want from the audience? I think that's it's an interesting question, because I do believe that all I can do at most is control my actions and maybe create an environment or an atmosphere or an experience that might influence. I think the most generous experience an audience can have is they feel connected and engaged and can see themselves in each of these characters. And I didn't want it to be particularly didactic, right? I didn't want the folks to walk away going, yes, I need to be more progressive, or yes, I need to ingest and consume more news or less news. So ideally, it's a walk away and thinking about what's my relationship with myself and the media I consume, and my relationship with others, and how do I deal with my own expectations of people I love or people I've just met, and to see, like, do I relate more to this person, to that person? So yeah, optimally, people are laughing and having a good time and thinking about where they stand in this strange world we live in.
Yeah, it's a strange world, but I love that you made a film that I'm still thinking about and I'm still taking things from. So well done to that. What is next? What's going on next?
Yeah, what's next? I love writing. So just writing a bunch of longer projects, might do some micro shorts just to get out there and practice and sharpen the saw. Started a podcast. Don't really know what that's like. I've interviewed maybe 2 dozen people, and figuring out like how do I want to release that? What do I want it to be about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And just any final, for our audience of filmmakers, it's very hard to narrow this down, but is there any kind of things that you go by as a creative artist, advice, or things that are kind of important to you that you maybe could share with our audience?
Yeah. Do it. Just do the work. Do it. Creative advice. Practice small things daily. I think it's the courage to get, like, 1 minute is enough. 1 minute is enough. 1 minute every day for a whole year, that's enough to write a script. It really is. So I think practicing daily. I always recommend reading The Artist Way by Julia Cameron,
Yes, so good.
The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, The Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, and reading, I like Epictetus, The Art of Living. But yeah, read, write, and create small things daily. Worry more about lowercase a or art and lowercase c creating versus like uppercase, yes, I am the identity, I am an artiste. Just do it. Just do the smallest thing and don't tell anyone about it, and just keep doing it until you have like a little body of work.
That was great. That was amazing advice. That was really, I hope you all wrote that down, everybody, honestly. But yeah, 1 minute a day, that's all it takes. Well, listen, thank you so much. We're so grateful to have you here, and welcome to the New Filmmakers family, and keep bringing more movies to us, please.
All right, yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
Mishu.